On this episode of The Finish Line, I am joined by Richmond Webb and Mr. BallGame, and we will discuss who is to blame for the Miami Dolphins' current terrible start to the season. Plus, I know Jonah Savaiinaea has been a topic of discussion. We'll get Richmond Webb's thoughts on the struggles of the young left guard right now. We'll get his thoughts on if moving him back to the right side could help fix things or not. Plus, we'll cover a whole lot more as we get ready for the Dolphins to take on the Jets in Week 4. Smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is The Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Finn Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I'm joined by the legendary Richmond Webb and Mr. BallGame for another episode of The Finish Line. Welcome in. And gentlemen, another week, another loss for the Miami Dolphins. They've started off 0-3 for the first time in the Mike McDaniel regime. Hey, Richmond, I know you were a little low on this team heading into the season, but I didn't think it would play out this bad at the beginning. How you feeling, brother? Hard to keep your head up as a Dolphin fan these days. At least you got Marcel Reed and the Aggies.
Well, we do. We got a tough game coming up Saturday against Auburn. We're gonna go to that game. So first Aggie game I'll make, and then after that I'll be headed to South Florida for the Chargers game. But yeah, I think disappointed. I don't think nobody had the Dolphins going 0-3, but the takeaways I get from the Buffalo Bills game is that it seemed like it was more of a concerted effort. To me, from the players, seemed like they played harder. I think it was just penalties at inopportune times or dumb penalties, and or just mental mistakes that's, I think, costing this team, games. I thought realistically, if we played better as far as not making those mistakes, I thought this was an opportunity we had to actually win this football game. But it didn't start out that way. But once they kind of settled down, it seemed like they got going, and I felt good. And then, we were kind of talking before. It was a couple of key plays that, we talked about and what you mentioned, and I agree with that. So I'm trying to look at the positives, and I'm like, I can deal with the effort if we can minimalize the penalties and the dumb mistakes, and we should be at home, so it shouldn't be an issue. Crowd noise and all that, especially for our offense, that we finally get things rolling. And I know as a player, when you're in a slump like this, the first thing you want to do is, if you can get a win, you don't want to keep hearing that, guys, we didn't play as bad as we thought, but we keep losing. You need to get that W in the column, and I think they'll feel better. And Monday night, for me, I look at it and say, okay, this is showtime for me, because it's only 2 teams playing Monday night. So this is where,
4. There's 2 games.
Okay, 4. I forgot that. When they do that, yeah. I'm still thinking old school, but like you said, it's only 4 and this is your prime time, and don't get no better than that. It's 28 teams at home, only 4 playing. So this is the time to shine. And then this is an opportunity for the team to get a win. And then for, analysts to be talking the next day and say, where was this team the first 3 weeks of the season, or why did they finally put it together? So that's what I got my fingers crossed, but I think this is a winnable game. But I think we got to make improvements from the Buffalo game, continue to make strides, and I think we can win this game here. How you doing, Mr. BallGame?
I'm good, to be truthful with you. I'm not as upset as I thought I was going to be, because they did at least fight, and they didn't lay down. They didn't just take it on the chin. They actually tried to go out and compete, and actually was in the game. But, like anything else, man, at some point you gotta start hurting yourself. It's really what it comes down to. And I think sometimes, to some degree, there's a lack of preparedness, and most of those things, in my opinion, although these guys are professional, that stuff starts at the top with the coach. So depending on the nature of what Mike's preparation during the week is for these guys, that's going to determine how well they're going to be able to go out there and and stay true to the alignment and assignment football. And, there were lapses of that, and those all fall back right at the feet of the coach, in my opinion. You can blame the players for a lot of different things, but, ultimately it's the coach's responsibility to have them as prepared as possible to go out and compete. And I just saw some really weird stuff in that game with players that I just didn't think should have even been on some of those some of the special team blunder and all this stuff. Like, there's nowhere in the world your number 1 DT should be on special teams. Like, what sense does that make? You got guys on the bench that can fill that role for him, right? Zach Costas, all sorts of stuff that's real questionable in my opinion. But like I said, I was happy with the fact that they actually at least competed. So that's a plus. And I'm gonna look at the positives instead of the negatives. But I know for a fact that a lot of this stuff falls squarely on the shoulders of Mike, because they're only gonna be as prepared as he's ready. I mean, they're only as prepared as he can prepare them, and to some degree, he's still struggling through some stuff too. Especially when he out here giving quotes about Tua that nobody seemed to be able to make any sense of.
So let me ask you this. I know you said a lot of it, falls on Mike's shoulders, especially the undisciplined stuff. Mm-hmm. With the fight you guys saw that the Dolphins put up in that Bills game, do you think he extended his shelf life? And what are your guys' thoughts on all the reports that came before the game and after the game that Stephen Ross is going to be practicing patience, and there was no real thought process regarding firing Mike McDaniel based on the outcome of that Buffalo game? Do you think the fight that this team showed, they clearly showed that they haven't given up on him yet. Do you think the fight that this team showed might have saved his job for a little longer?
Well, can I take it, Rich?
Yeah, you gotta ask. Go ahead.
I think the fight that they shows that this team has the ability to go out and compete when they're focused. I don't think that has anything, truthfully, to do with Mike himself, because at the end of the day, we're talking about veterans, professional football players that have done a lot of this, what they're doing, being asked to do on a high level. So they still have some level of integrity associated with themselves. problem is that when they get into those spaces where they're looking over there for him to give them something, you know what I'm saying, or to answer a question that's happening on the field in regards to something that's going on, he doesn't have that answer. And then that's when things go off the rails. So did he save himself? Yeah, only because Ross and Greer would have to admit that they made a mistake, that they go ahead and fire him now. And I think that's probably the only primary reason why they haven't done it, because they don't want to be, they'd rather be half right than all wrong. But
But shouldn't Greer be out the door with them? You're going to give this guy a chance at even if it's an interim head coach, you're going to give this guy a shot at a fourth head coach as a GM?
He know where the bodies are buried, bro. Got to be something.
We know this. Yeah, regarding the lawsuit, right? The Flores stuff.
We agree 100% that he should be going with him. But, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes these dudes will spite them. You know, they'll cut out their own nose and spite their own face. You know what I mean? Spite the face. Just so they don't have to admit that they were wrong about.
See, what I wouldn't be surprised if they give him an executive role. They get him out of the GM role, but they give him an executive. Yeah, give him an executive role. So they still get him out of the GM role, but they don't step on the toes in regards to what you were saying about knowing when the bodies are buried and such.
But if Mike is getting a reprieve and is getting an opportunity to still figure it out, Greer gonna be right there in the same spot he in.
Greer been here for 25 years. He still ain't figured it out. What's another 6 months gonna do?
I'm just what I'm saying. So that'll be the thought process. Like, what gonna change? What can change? What can actually change in 6 months that he ain't figured out in 25 years?
Yeah. What do you think?
Damage if you don't. You feel me?
What do you think, Richmond? I mean, you've been in these locker rooms. You saw the fight this team was putting up. You know, if not for two boneheaded plays, the Zach Sealer roughing the punter and then to his interception, I mean, we could be sitting here singing a different story, or at least had seen overtime football. Yeah. They clearly were fighting. What are your thoughts? Did McDaniel extend his shelf life a little bit?
You know what? Even though we're 0-3, I think he did. And I think it was due to the one, I think it's due to the effort that we played against the Bills. But the other thing is just kind of how the owner responded to, the fans been upset and this and that, but basically it didn't seem like it was a real sense of urgency for him to make a decision right now. Yeah. And so I was kind of like, well, he'd have to really, I guess, really stink it up for him to go ahead and just pull the trigger. But it sounded like that, I don't know what it is, but it didn't seem like he was in a sense of urgency to say, okay, pull the plug, let's fire this guy, name an intern coach and let's go another direction. So I'm not getting the feeling just based on the statement came out from Mr. Ross, the owner, this and that. So I think he has some more time, but I think he needs to seriously work on, getting his ship headed in the right direction. Not just the effort, but you got to put some W's in the win column.
Yeah, I don't know. My whole thing, and another thing I can attribute to maybe that he could have came away looking pretty good from, and I don't think any one of us have talked about it yet, was probably one of McDaniel's best game plans, especially against a team over 500. I thought he game planned pretty well. I mean, that opening drive, we were getting the drives we did score touchdowns on were long, sustained drives that were keeping Josh Allen off the field and eating the clock. You know what I mean? Now, I will say at the same time, why is Ollie Gordon not getting the ball more still? Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? What I didn't like, too, was he tended to get away from the run a little bit. Like, we could talk about that play for the interception, but you had just converted that first down with Malik Washington. That should be a rundown. Why are you dropping to a back? Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, and we can sit here and we can nitpick like certain instances like that, but I think overall, Mike McDaniel doesn't shoulder any of the blame for that loss. Really, I think the blame is going to go towards Weaver for how that defense started off, and then Sealer and Tua for basically finishing us off. But that's another thing I wanted to ask you, BallGame. Jack Jones, brother, he's clearly struggling in zone. He's making errors. You know what I mean? Like whether it be taking defensive pass interference penalties or whether it be, not rotating and switching off of his man. But then you put him later in the game, you start running a little bit more man, a little bit more press, and he starts making plays for you. He actually forced the 4th down that Sealer took the roughing the punter on.
Right.
It's clearly been obvious just for the minimal reps. I mean, you look at this defense right now, and the majority of everything they're doing is basically coming right now in zone. I think they're running zone like 63% of the time right now. In the mid-60s, they're running zone. Where are you at with this? Because the cushions they're giving, like they're making fundamental mistakes you learn in like Pee-wee. I mean, these guys are clearly like Roswell Douglas. These guys are who's probably been our best corner. These guys are clearly more suited to run a little bit more man or press man. And we're getting chewed up underneath by Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, Drake May. It doesn't matter. They're getting the ball out quick and they're getting the ball underneath into space. What are your thoughts right now on the coverages that Anthony Weaver is rolling out?
I think the big issue right now is the fact that he has and still consistently puts out a defense, including the front and the assignment of the linebackers behind the D-line and the edge players that he's got, that's not suited to the personnel that we have. Jack Jones has never, if you look at his history, he's never been a guy suited for zone coverage. You have to have high awareness and high football IQ to be able to understand the intricacies of zone sometimes. And even though a lot of these guys have NFL experience, they're just not well suited for all schemes. And we're right. We do have guys that are better suited for man coverage because they're smaller, niftier guys that can actually get in and get into spaces with the routes of the receivers and hug and get close and be able to play the hand fighting and stuff of that nature. But when you're asking them to just cover space, they're lost. And that falls on the coordinator. And in the same sense, like up front, we're not a 3 down. We're not big enough, really, unless you're gonna switch out Grant for Benito to be up there talking about putting 3D linemen down and then standing 2 guys up. Our guys spend too much time looking in the backfield, watching and spectating as opposed to just getting up the field, right? You'll never see Myles Garrett standing up. Myles Garrett is always in a 4-point stance or a 3-point stance, getting off, rushing upfield after the quarterback because he doesn't concern himself with nothing but getting after the quarterback. Simple. And if it's a rundown, then he just goes butt deep, and then he's standing there waiting and watching, but it's not his responsibility because he has 2 DTs in the A-gaps with a linebacker behind them to fill and flow in any of the gaps that's needed. But when we head up like we are, we're exposed. We get stand up, we get stood up, pushed back, then those are creases for everything else. And now you got guys in the secondary got to turn off of their responsibilities to turn back to go make these tackles before. We're a man team right now. We're better suited for man. But I don't understand why we were trying to turn these guys into something that they're not. Rasul Douglas thrived in Buffalo in man coverage. Hell, they used to have him a lot of the times on the backside corner, manned up, all to himself, and everybody else plays zone to the field. You feel me? Stuff like that. You can do all sorts of intricate things, but you got to play to the strength of your players. And right now, we don't have guys that have the wherewithal, or better yet, the football IQ to play zone. And zone requires that. You got to be able to process really quickly. And it's just not. All these guys, with the exception of Rasul, who has the longest tenure career in the NFL, most of them in backups. Our best corner right now on the roster by name is Kader Kohu, and he ain't even here. He's not available. So everybody else, you're taking shots. At corner, at least. I don't factor in Minka. But for the rest of them, they all been backups. None of them were actual starters. You feel me? So all of the real gritty, in the middle of the fray reps that you would have needed, none of them ever had them. So you got to start with what's most easy for these guys to run, and that's man coverage, with the exception of a team that's crafty enough to give you some switches. But even then, right? All that stuff can happen between the corner and the slot. So if the guy's coming inside on the motion, slot takes him. I'm taking who come out. I know I can't be at the same level as the slot. So I back off a little bit, slide in a little bit, shuffle my feet, and I take what's coming out, and then he take what's going in, and we still good, and the man coverage is still there. All these things I don't see us doing. But these are things that you teach, and you got to play to the strengths of your player. So right now at this point, I'm pushing it all back over to coaching again.
I mean, like, I'll give you some stuff to really, some stats to really sit on here. The Miami Dolphins currently have the highest drop back EPA per play allowed as a defense against quarterbacks. All right, they're getting lit up in the passing game. Okay, you look at rush EPA per play allowed. The Miami Dolphins, again, they're like, I want to say, I think they're about 8th worst in the NFL right now. And then this is what's really scary. Check this one out, gentlemen. This will really shake your boots right now. The Miami Dolphins, they have a blitz rate of 43.2%. That's number 1 in the NFL.
Because you can't stop nothing.
They have a pressure rate of 17.9%. That is the worst in the NFL. Yeah. They have the highest blitz rate in the NFL to the worst pressure rate in the NFL right now.
Which means they sending all them people and ain't nobody getting home.
Because the ball's getting out underneath. Look at the time to throw for everyone. They made Daniel Jones look like Andrew Luck because he was just quickly getting it out underneath right into space. Because, I mean, these guys aren't, like, look at the cushion they're giving on some of these zone calls. It's just, they're just getting chewed up underneath. You know what I mean? And I don't know what the answer is for Anthony Weaver here, but I'm going to tell you this right now.
The answer is simplify it.
Well, we did look like we settled in a lot more in the second half. But even like look at, we're dropping back Jalen Phillips into coverage. We're dropping back Kenneth Grant into coverage.
Horrible.
Dotson's a disaster in coverage.
Gay should be on the field more.
Yeah, but they won't because Brooks turned down having the green dot, so Dotson's the green dot guy. And remember, they didn't even want to sign Tyrell Dodson. They tried to sign Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
And then they settled for Tyrell Dodson after they couldn't get Greenlaw. So he wasn't even the original plan. I don't know. Something I wanted to ask you. We looked at a few plays before we went live here, Richmond. A lot of people are really panicking about Jonah Savaiinaea right now. I was on the set with Taron Armstead a few weeks ago. He told me, he said Jonah's going to be fine and he's going to be really good. The discussion has been, why is he on the left side when his natural side is right? Now, he did play some left tackle last year at Arizona. He actually split time between left tackle and right tackle. But for the majority of the time in his Arizona, he's either been at right tackle or right guard. They signed James Daniels, who was coming off an Achilles injury, to play right guard, but he has reps on tape in the NFL at left guard, and he's found some success there. Austin Jackson is always hurt. You know what I mean? When I wanted to bring in Jonah Savaiinaea before the Senior Bowl, when I was pushing for him, I wanted to bring him in at right guard, and eventually, not if, but when Austin Jackson went down, you had a guy I thought you could kick out to right tackle. What are your thoughts on Jonah Savaiinaea's play right now? And do you think a switch, even though McDaniel's on record saying he's not going to do it right now, do you think a switch back to the right side where he is more comfortable could help things? Or do you think this is just something he has to figure out at the NFL level right now?
Yeah, I think he just got to figure it out. This will be his 4th game. I know the starters didn't. I don't know how much he played in the preseason, but I know the starters didn't play much in the preseason. But he's been taking reps over there. He should start kind of feel a little bit more comfortable. From the plays I seen, one of them, he got high and the guy got up underneath him. And then the other one is that wide rush. And the guy was basically in a inside technique on Patrick Paul, which is, we call it like a 4-eye. And when you're rushing like that, you got to set back, but sometimes you got to get a little deeper. And I think if he would have kicked one more step or got a little bit more width on his pass set, I think he would have been fine. But it looked like he was bracing for the guy to bull rush him, and the guy slapped his hands. And when you bracing like that, your weight goes forward, and he kind of went around him. So I think he'll be okay. I think, you got young guys over there. I think the thing that they got to continue to do is communicate. And that's That's one thing you got to do. Who you got? Hey, watch out for this, that, because the one he got bull rushed on, that was they slid right to that. Right, they had the perfect scheme on or protection to slide right to it. He was just too high. The guy got up under him, and everybody knows low man wins. So I think he'll be okay. And I know I haven't seen recently, but I know at times Teron Armstead used to go out to practice every now and then. And, if he can get in the young fellows here and tell him some key things to work on. But he's got a really good offense. Bush Barry, he's still an offensive line coach, right? So if he's still there, he's got a good coach. He's just got to tweak a few things. It's not like he played all, but it's always worse when it's in key situations or when you got to make that play to continue to let the chains move that, you get kind of blown up like that. That always makes it worse. So I agree with Teron. I think he's going to be fine, but he's got to figure out how to block when he's got that real wide rush, because if not, he's going to keep seeing it every week, and that's just the way the NFL is. They figure out you struggling with something, they're going to keep giving it to you until you show that you can adapt to it and you can block it.
On the flip side, another rookie that some fans are concerned about, Mr. Ballgame, is Kenneth Grant because of where he was drafted. Now, I've highlighted he's made some really nice run stops the last couple weeks. But he's not getting any help. Zach Sealer probably playing the worst football of his life, getting blown up off the ball. The edges are getting no pressure. I saw one, he made a really nice run stop last week. He was telling Matthew Butler to line up because Matthew Butler didn't know where to line up pre-snap, and Kenneth Grant would say, no, you're over there. So this kid clearly knows what he's doing if he's already lining up veterans who have been in the league. People panicked with Chop last year, and Chop's off to a slow start. Other than Bradley Chubb, everyone's off to a slow start on that front seven. Where are you at with Kenneth Grant right now in the first 3 games?
To be honest with you, I'm completely fine where he is, because what he's not doing is giving up. He's fighting for every rep. He's winning a couple. It's unfortunate that he doesn't necessarily have they don't have him in the right position to win. He's not, and I don't know why. They got him playing it, but he's not Vince Wilfork type, and that's what you need for this 3-down lineman sets that we be running. They put him in the gap, he'll thrive because he's wide enough and strong enough and quick enough to be able to get off and then get into the engagement points that he needs to with the offensive lineman. But right now, when you got him stuck right there above the center, all the center got to do is hike and hold. And that's what's happening, right? And at that point, right, it ain't going to be much push that he's going to be able to get because center's getting help with him. Zach's getting doubled to some degree, and they're running away from those guys, and they're isolating the side because our edges are standing up and they're getting washed away. They're getting blown out of the plays because they're standing there as spectators. That's why I'm saying I don't understand why you're dropping. He's doing all this fancy stuff with guys that have never proven to you that they can do it in the first place. Phillips is not a drop in coverage guy. Chubb is not a drop in coverage guy. You know what I'm saying? Let them rush the passer. Let them get upfield and cause havoc. Put pressure on the tackles. That's what they do best. But no, you're trying to get them to do a whole bunch of stuff that's outside of their wheelhouse, and you're never going to get them to do it because that's not who they are. But Grant, I'm fine with. To be honest with you, he's not getting his butt kicked. And, the fact that he plays down there in the trenches where he plays, there are going to be some losses that he's got to take. But he's working through the process of figuring out what he can and can't do. But, again, they're not putting him, in my opinion, in the best position to be overly successful because of the defensive fronts that they're giving him.
Well, a lot of the nice run stops he's making, he's either as a 3-tech or a 4-tech, I'm noticing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's having a lot more success as an end.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about him either. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's figuring it out. I think that's one of those positions too where how good was Christian Wilkins in year 1?
Yeah, exactly. He was a train wreck. He was a train wreck. I remember it. It was like, well, why did we take this guy so high and he's not doing anything? But then you have to figure it out, right? You have to figure out you have to truly figure it out. And it's the defensive coordinator is also his responsibility to put the guys into place to be the best to match what they bring to the table, their strengths and weaknesses. He's just not a he's not a nose. He's not a zero tech.
Yeah.
You feel me? Not yet. If he put on maybe another 20, 25 pounds throughout his career, you know what I mean? But he's too tall for that, right? He's too tall and he's not wide enough. You need a Vince Wilfork type to be able to do what they're trying to do with this three down lineman.
Yeah.
And we just don't. It's just bad. It's just bad scheming, in my opinion. So.
All right. So the Dolphins have started off 0-3. We've seen a defense that has been eaten up, and just ran through holes through Swiss cheese at times. We've seen Mike McDaniel have issues, especially time management issues. We're taking dumb penalties. I remember 2 weeks ago, we're taking too many men in the huddle on 4th down. You know what I mean? Just stupid stuff you're seeing. Tua making interceptions. Throwing interceptions in key moments. Back-to-back weeks, he had chances to bring this team back into the game late in the fourth quarter. He threw interceptions, okay? You got Stephen Ross, who co-signed all of this right after Tyreek Hill quit when we lost against the Jets last year. When you look at this right now, gentlemen, if you had to point your finger, who do you think is shouldering the most blame right now for the Miami Dolphins starting 0-3?
Tua. Who's responsible or who's shouldering it?
The same.
Because everybody gonna blame the quarterback.
Okay, so who would you contribute most of this failure on the shoulders of? There you go.
Greer.
Okay, go off. Why?
Yeah, because of the fact that the coach can only work with what you give him. So you gave us 2 Ferraris, and then you gave us no mid-level play whatsoever from the tight end spot. A bunch of guys that ain't nobody really gonna ever run out to try to re-sign. You gave us a promising talent at quarterback, but then you went and you patched up the guys behind your starters on the offensive line with guys that probably not even be picked up at Home Depot anytime soon if they weren't playing in the league right now. So you didn't do the best job of filling out the roster to the best of its ability. You didn't spend money the way it should have been spent. And then when you had an opportunity to do so, you stayed, you stayed put. So the roster is only going to be able to give you as much as you time and effort you put into developing it. And on the opposite side of the ball, I don't think they really spent a whole lot. You sent away your best player. You got back one, but he can't affect what's happening to you right now. Hell, at least with Ramsey could take away the team's best number 1 receiver. But these guys that you have right now can't do that. And you're not even so it starts with Greer, because Greer's the one that provides you all the ingredients. Now, whether Mike's a chef to be able to prepare it or not doesn't even matter if you're giving him, if you're getting inferior ingredients to cook with. I do blame Mike though, because we're all led to believe that he was some savant, right? And maybe he is, but I still haven't seen it. I've seen splashes of brilliance here and there, but nothing consistent. But even again, Greer's the one that co-signed bringing this guy in and hire him too. So he had to have some say on that too. So the GM, it starts for me at the GM spot. I'm not gonna blame the soldiers for the misfortunes of the generals. You feel me? If the war is lost in the war room, not on the field. It's decisions made by those that make the decisions that cost you or win you the war. The soldiers just go out and execute. Simple and plain. So, I hold all players accountable when they need to be held accountable for things that they do. But at the end of the day, if you got them in a bad set that doesn't support their strengths, that's not on them. They only playing to what, the rules that they're given, the directions that they're given to. Right? You can hold them accountable for not knowing.
Yeah.
But they don't make the decision. So, I think it starts with Griff for me. What about you, Rich?
Yeah, I agree with you. At first, I like the way Reason asked the question, because like you said, most people do blame the quarterback, but I was gonna say McDaniel probably showed it more, but then I started, listening to your take, and I kind of agree with it. But I would probably say McDaniel, because, like you said, as important, like you say, we traded away our tight end that was so productive last year, and to not get anything or not replace, that just didn't make sense to me. And then the other thing you brought up earlier that I kind of honed in on was when you start talking about the secondary and how nobody's been a starter or backup, and typically you're a backup for a reason if you hadn't started anywhere else. So to bring guys here, that's already a notch. So now, like you said, even with Weaver, he's dropping off Phillips and Chubb and this and that. I think maybe he's trying to come up with something to possibly compensate for guys that are not at starters level, maybe at the secondary, but now you got holes everywhere else because those guys are not doing what they're supposed to do, and everybody playing. So it's just crumbling. You trying to hold it together and hide the cracks, but everybody said, okay, I know what it is, this and that. And then, like Reason said, every time we're blitzing 45% of the time, but they're hitting the balls underneath, so it's still ineffective. It's like no matter which way you choose to try to stop them, they know, and it's not working. But
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, and so when you kind of focused on the GM, because really I think as a coach, you coach the guys, but you should have some say so and say, hey, I need this guy here. If you're gonna get rid of him, I need somebody that's pretty comfortable, because you can see the results that we had last year, like at the tight end position, or even like if you're gonna trade away Ramsey. I think the thing with him, like I love Minka, but he could play safety, he could play corner. He could. That's real valuable to get. I know he wasn't happy and he wanted to get out here. I understand that, but you got to bring some guys in that are. If you lose some starters, you got to bring in a starter type guy. You can't replace everybody with backups and things that's going.
Yeah.
So it's just.
Yeah, I mean, I got some blame to hand out here, so I'll give you some stuff. Okay, so let's start at field level. Tua has to shoulder some of this blame.
Yeah.
Okay. In big moments, critical drives, we want you to come out on the successful side between 50 to 60% of the time. Okay. You had a chance over the last 2 weeks to go 50% between the Patriots in critical moments and the Bills. You failed both times. Okay. Now, I do think the offensive line let them down a little bit on that. Brunskill whiffed and gave up the instant pressure. I think he didn't get a chance to read the curl hook defender, let alone get to his backside progressions. He read the flat defender, and because of the pressure bearing downs, like Waddle should be open based on play design and what we're asking them. Boom, ball goes there, interception. Bad decision, bad O-line play, but still. Man, Tua, you just haven't been good enough in the big critical moments, which last year when you came back from that concussion and you were lights out for those first 6 games, throwing for 13 touchdowns, an interception, and over 1,600 yards, it was kind of the writing on the wall was we're still not good enough because we still managed to go 3-3 in that stretch. So that brings me to McDaniel. Undisciplined errors are going to continuously fall on you. In week 1, it looked like we were a team that was in week 16, 17, or 18 of the season, and we were checked out. We knew we weren't making the playoffs, and we were out on our coach. Week 2, we're making critical errors on 4th down. We're having time management issues where we're burning timeouts, right? We're too many men in the huddle on 4th down, right? And then your call from the 11-yard line that Achane, thank God, scores on because he showed some power is a swing pass out of the backfield with Tanner Conner as the lead blocker. That was your great design. Okay. So I think McDaniel deserves some blame for this. Okay. Yeah. Chris Greer. Let's talk about Ramsey. You knew Ramsey wanted out since well before the draft. Okay. Mm-hmm. Stephen Ross is your owner. Michigan ties. How does no one in that building know Will Johnson is an absolute steal at the top of the second round, and you're getting a first-round talent. I love Jonah Savaiinaea. I wanted the Jonah Savaiinaea pick. But Will Johnson was the pick to make there based on everything you had going on in the cornerback room.
Yeah.
Let's be real with ourselves. Because he went one pick before your pick at 48. He went at 47, so you would have had to trade up anyways. But, I mean, I know Will Johnson missed this past weekend, but he went into this weekend leading the league in pass breakups.
Yep.
Okay? So, I mean, and your guy is an alum who was in with Harbaugh, and Harbaugh, it's known Will Johnson was one of his favorite players ever at Michigan. So we all knew what the talent level was, okay? You didn't address that. All right? The whole tight end situation, we know what it is. We don't got to get into deep to it. You didn't address that. You brought in James Daniels, who, let's be real here, this is another reason why Jonah should have started at right guard. He's not a long-term plan. You got him at $8 million because he's coming off an Achilles injury. If you look at his contract, it's ready to be negotiated after year one.
Fact.
He's got no guaranteed money. So that's not a long-term answer. Jonah Savaiinaea, you just drafted and you got for at least 4 years. That's a long-term answer. Why are we moving the long-term answer to the left side? Yeah, when the short-term guy is getting the right side. What are we talking about here? Okay, because that's McDaniel and Greer. Okay? Greer been here for 25 years. We've had 0 playoff success. I mean, you don't got to be a mathematician to figure out the common denominator on that one. All right? And I think a lot of the blame needs to fall on Stephen Ross. We are in this position because Stephen Ross didn't have a set of cojones on him after Tyreek Hill quit on this team to say, you know what? We got to get this over. I don't know. Did this guy strike a deal with the devil that he knows he's got another 100 years on this earth? I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, does he got pictures on the Grim Reaper that he knows he ain't coming calling it anytime soon? Because, brother, you're in your 80s. You're not getting anytime soon. You're not getting younger anytime soon. Is this really the time to be practicing patience right now? Everything's blowing up in your face. You can see the coach is not adjusting and adapting to how how NFL defenses have adjusted and adapted to him, and it's costing us. You can see the quarterback, because you guys signed him to a $212 million deal, and you said, no more perform, no more 3D QB because you're an insurance liability, and because of insurance purposes, we want everything in-house now. He doesn't look like he's in the physical top shape he was. We saw the velocity gaining on the football every year under Nick Hicks. You can see the velocity isn't as tight and the spirals aren't as tight. And you can even notice this. Nick had him doing a lot of work where, muscle memory, mechanic-wise. You're having issues right now. His only incompletion over the last 2 weeks deep outside the numbers, it was all base. It was all mechanical. You could tell it's not being ingrained in him as it was underperform. And that, again, falls on Stephen Ross listening to the people around him. So I think there's a ton of blame to go on around here. I really do. And I do think this all starts back at Stephen Ross. Okay. You could have avoided this by cleaning house after Tyreek Hill quit on you. Your best player quit on you after the Jets game. And you said, well, let me double down on these guys.
Do you think the owner? I mean, I hear your point, but I'm like, why did it have to go all the way to the top? If you a coach and you a GM and you see it's an issue, I just think that they could have said, hey, we're not going to tolerate this. I think even in other organizations, I don't think if you put the right people in place, the owner don't have to make. I'm not saying he couldn't make that decision, but I'm thinking like,
yeah, but doesn't that fall on the owner now because he's not putting the right people in place to make those decisions? Yeah. So he's not being a good decision maker either. What did I say to someone? I said Ross is about as good of a decision maker football wise in terms of putting the right people in place as Tua has been this year in the fourth quarter.
Fair enough.
Well, you go back to Bill Parcells. You can go read about Bill Parcells' book. One of the reasons, because there were multiple, one of the reasons why he said he left was because he didn't believe Ross was going to surround himself with the right people. And he wasn't going to put the right football people in charge. And is he not right as we look around?
Well, Parcells
Unfortunately.
know how to build. As far as whether he's a head coach, GM, he surrounds himself with seem like the right people to get the job done. So, yeah.
Well,
And
look what he did.
did it
He brought a
places.
Sperano. Bill Parcells brought a Sperano
Yeah.
who figured out the Wildcat. So what does Ross do when he comes here?
Got rid of
Goes and courts Harbaugh behind his back. Then when it gets found out, gives Sperano an extension. Sorry, even he turned me down. My bad. And then what does he do? He gave that extension in January. Sperano was fired by December.
Yep.
Right? And he put Tannenbaum in charge. Right? Look at the people that he's put in charge and given leeway to. And I'll tell you right now, I got no excitement for the next general manager because I know it's gonna be Brandon Shore. I'm gonna tell you, I've been saying this for like over a year and a half now. Watch, it's gonna be Brandon Shore. I can almost guarantee you this because Brandon Shore, the cap guy, all right, the money guy. I've been told for 2 years he has more power in that building than Chris Greer. Right?
Chris Greer hands. If that's the case, do you think his hands are tired?
Oh, this is what happened. Last offseason, Brandon Shore did not want new money going to Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel went above Shore and went to Stephen Ross. Ross signed off. That ended up being a mistake. And look at what a coincidence we all of a sudden pull back the spending this offseason, right? Sounds like Brandon Shore got his way. Sounds like he's like, yo, you guys messed up last year. I'm listening to Brandon Shore now. Right. And that's the start of it. Remember, that's what the Steelers did with Kahn. Right? With their current GM. So he was the cap guy. He was the finance guy. And what he did was he hired a football mind as his assistant GM, Andy Weidel, and that's how he's rolled to learn the game more.
So we got a whole bunch of internal struggles going on.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, you can't win like that.
Yeah, you just can't.
You don't go win like that. Yeah.
But guys, hold on a sec. The Savior's on the way. Darren Waller is confirmed that he's going to be playing Monday night against the Jets. Let's get into the Jets here. We got the Jets on Monday night. Richmond over here trying to find the positive of us playing in prime time when we have 3 wins under McDaniel and his regime in prime time. Okay, we're what? I think we're 3-10 in the regular season in prime time and 3-11 if you include the Kansas City prime time playoff game. All right. Okay. So, oh boy. And now we got the Jets who, let's be honest, the Jets in week 1, they pushed the Steelers to the limit.
Yep.
Last week they scored 27 points. They didn't look good in week 2 against the Bills. We've always had problems with quarterbacks that can use their legs. Hey, we got brand new rivalry jerseys. I mean, Richmond, you're sitting here talking about, only 4 teams are playing, so the world's. I'm sitting here saying, yeah, the whole world is watching, and you're in new uniforms. Imagine if you crap the bed in that scenario.
Who,
that's what I'm saying.
Blame it on the uniform. You can blame it on the uniform.
Yeah.
Is Fields going to be back?
Who?
Fields.
Justin Fields?
Justin Fields.
We won't know until this weekend, Saturday, the final injury report.
Okay.
So, by the way, shout out to the finisher. He says, I read there were 12 screenplays on 34 passes. And George says, I'm okay with McDaniel getting fired, but would love to see McDaniel with a new GM. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Jets in week 4? I mean, do you think the Dolphins get back to their winning? Well, get back. Do they think they find their winning way? Or what do you think happens in week 4? We'll start with you, Richmond.
I think for me, I think you know what you're going to get from the Jets. Aaron Glenn took that team over, and he's a demanding coach. He came out from under Dan Campbell at Detroit. He's worked a couple places. But even though they're not winning, like you said, they had an opportunity to beat Tampa Bay and the first game, I forgot, but Buffalo they didn't. But Pittsburgh, that's what it was.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Yeah, they are compete. You're gonna get a good effort. I mean, they're not gonna come down here and lay down. That's a rivalry game, this and that. And so I think if we play like we played against Buffalo, but minimize the dumb penalties and the mistakes, I think we got an opportunity to win. But I'm definitely, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk and they're going to just come down here and just lay down. I think we're going to get a real good effort from the New York Jets, and I think that's because his head coach, because he's not tolerating, he has set the bar high, and even though they're not there, he's consistently putting pressure on them to say, hey, we've got to get here because we're not where we want to be, but we're working toward that. And I think we got to play our best game. I think each week it gets a little bit tougher. So we've got to play better than we did against Buffalo and not continue to make dumb penalties and mistakes to beat us or to cost us a game to where possibly it could have been a different outcome. And I think that's what was tough for me during the Buffalo game, because I love the effort, but I think it was just someone was just dumb penalties and dumb mistakes that really cost us in crucial times. And if we can minimize or eliminate that, I think we get a W.
Where you at, BallGame?
Well, for me, I'm gonna stick with it in that. This roster is more talented than probably 2/3 of the rosters in the league. Front 11, I mean the top 22 players, but it all comes down to fire and desire. How whether they want it or not. Like the game shouldn't even be close. To be honest with you, the New York Jets offense is not something to write home to mom about, but the defense got a whole bunch of problems that they can give you because they're gonna punch you in your face. Play after play after play after play. We don't do well with the physicality show up in the room. We're a finesse team. So we got to figure it out. Are we going to get bullied at home, or are we going to stand up and fight for ourselves? That's going to be the number one question of the week. How are they going to respond to the physicality of – how is our offense going to respond to the physicality of the Jets defense? And on the flip side, if Fields is there, that presents a whole other element of the guy having to run with the ball. And I think who's their backup? Tyrod?
Yeah. He
got banged up a little bit in Sunday's game too, so we'll see how that all plays out. That might be a benefit for us, but it ain't gonna matter. They want to turn around and hand the ball off. You know what I'm saying? 20, 30 times a game. If we can get into the gaps and control the gaps, then we're just gonna get pushed around. And then their offensive line, who is humongous, right? They don't stay healthy that long, but they're humongous. That's a big ass O line that the Jets got. They can get things going for them too. And if it can slow the game down and make it ugly, I don't like us in an ugly game. I just don't. So for me, we gotta establish our ground game and then work off of that, and then hit the players that they don't expect, because everybody expects Tua to try to get the ball to Reek and Waddle. But after that, we don't really have a tight end threat because we don't know what old boy gonna look like, and the other tight ends have been lackluster too. So without that key element in this offense, that's a big question marks on how effective they can truly be. And, there's plenty of options out there, I think, but we just haven't pulled the trigger to go get any. So, it's like what we got in the room. You went and brought in Waller, who had been sitting around doing God knows what for how long. So, it makes no sense to me. You got rid of a Jonah over there thriving in Pittsburgh.
They didn't want to pay him. We knew they wouldn't pay him. We knew they wouldn't pay him. What are you guys' score predictions?
21-13.
Dolphins or Jets?
Yeah, us.
Where are you at, Richmond?
I go 2017 Dolphins. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring of a game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think we can pull it out. So I go 2017 Dolphins.
21.
I just want to remind you guys, we hadn't lost to the Patriots with
don't bring up those stats. No, don't bring up those. I hate when people they do that.
You can throw that right on out the window now.
Yeah. He hasn't lost to the Jets as a starter.
Detroit.
Hey, that was the first time for everything.
quarterback hadn't threw an interception in something, and next thing you know, the guy throws in. I'm like, man, stop bringing up those stats. I think they brought up a stat when we played the Colts. They hadn't won an opener in this, and I'm like, okay, now let's win the damn opener. It's like, no, just man.
Did they win?
Yeah, did they win? They earned that win, that's for sure. I don't know. I don't
Hey, Avery.
I don't know. I don't got the most faith in the world, that's for sure.
Oh, there the boss lady is. There she go.
How old is she now?
Is she two ball game?
He's muted.
Is she two ball? Is she two?
She'll be 3.
Ball game?
Yeah, she'll be 3 in December. December 9th, she turns 3. Yeah.
Golly.
Look at my
Hey,
baby.
little lady.
Tell her, say hey. Say hey. All right, go get your bag.
You ready for that problem in about 13 years?
Who?
You.
Now her daddy got to deal with that. I already went through that. I'm back up now.
Oh, and the phone's gonna be ringing, brother.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
It's all
Don't
good.
worry. Don't worry.
If you call me, I'm coming to fix it. I ain't just coming to talk. I'm coming to get some resolution ASAP.
All right, first thing I want to do too is shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that, of course, is Sponsor. That sponsor is Sleeper, and the NFL season is here, which means you now have 1,000 times chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Football has never been more exciting than it is now, with players like Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, and so many more. Pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 time payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right and you could win big. Use promo code Phinside and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. They're currently operational in over 25 states. Go ahead and check out Sleeper today. Shout out to Penn for coming through and donating 5 Phinside the NFL memberships. If you hadn't had the chance, go check out 3 Takes if you're a Patreon member or a channel member. Go check it out. A lot of good information for you guys right there. You guys got about a minute each. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I guess final thought is, I think we know where we're at. I think the thing for me is, we start diving into whose fault it was, and you kind of brought up the cap guy and all that, is that sometimes we see things, but it's not always what you see, it's the stuff behind. So I think it's some things internally that we got to get fixed that would help alleviate a lot of this, but that's another story show. Just let's get this W Monday night. That's it. That's all I got.
I would say guys got to really stop worrying about what it look like and get down to the basis of what it really is. We are not a very disciplined team. Fundamentals always going to last a whole lot longer than pure athleticism and ability. And, man, be willing to admit what you don't know. So that there got to be somebody that knows something more than you or less than you or can help you enhance whatever it is you know. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why these guys don't collaborate, because you can tell there's some dysfunction, right? Mike seems to be all by himself on Sundays, and I don't know if he wants it that way, but that's a crazy way to exist, and you can't be successful like that as a coach, man. You got to rely on the guys around you. They're there for a reason. Tap into all of that, you know what I'm saying? Put the ego to the side for a bit at least, because all you're doing is hurting yourself and you're hurting the team through those selfish, the selfish way of seeing things. We talk about it, but he still ain't. I want the guy to be successful, man, but I can't make you can't make somebody get out of their own way. So
yeah,
self-inflicted wounds are the worst type too. So
I mean, it's. I mean, did you guys see? We got coaches admitting failure here and giving up play calling this week. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you guys saw that today, but there is people actually, putting their egos to the side this week, and it isn't Mike McDaniel. Because I don't know if you saw it, Brian Callahan He gave up play calling duties after the Titans started 0-3 this season. So, and that's one of the best O-line coaches in the NFL admitting he's wrong.
Yeah.
So. Guys, smash that like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. We appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Until next time, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. Tomorrow, I'll be live with Neil Driscoll around 5 o'clock. And then we got an episode of the starting lineup coming this either Friday or Saturday. And then I will be doing the preview on whichever day the starting lineup doesn't drop. So we got a lot of content coming your way. And then we'll be live reacting on Monday to Monday Night Football. So smash that like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Fins up all day, every day, baby.